Alright, so the first job today will be to install these studs onto the hard dodger here for the windows. So I'm going to do it different than I did inboard. I'm going to actually just drill these holes and insert these through a hole and weld it on the back. Didn't want to do that on the inside windows, even though there was a lot more, because I didn't want dissimilar metals going through the hole, because you know, if there's something goes wrong with crevice corrosion between the stainless and the mild steel, then I have to rip apart the whole interior to be able to get to the studs to fix them. And you can't really visually see it because it's all going to be covered by like the interior panels, and I'm not exactly going to have access over the sides because like it's not really good access down there. So inspections will be hard. Where on this Dodger we're spending a lot of time out here. This is where you're going to be the most of the time, and if there's a problem occurring due to crevice corrosion, you'll be able to pick it up and address it really easily. So I've got no dramas doing it up here. It'll be a lot easier to do, and yeah, save me a lot of time, so I'm going to get started on that. All right, I've got all the holes drilled. Now let's see if I can show you with the camera. You see inside this hole, if the camera focuses, we've got a 1mm step at the back of that hole. Now if I put this stud in and go around the other side, you might be able to see that that stud only comes in with about 1mm to spare, right? And that's going to be so that when I actually fill that hole full of weld and grind it all nice and flush, I'm not taking away most of the strength of the weld and relying just on the heat of the penetration. I'm going to actually have a fair bit of weld inside that hole and inside the hole there, and that's going to be what holds the stud in. So that worked out well. We'll get these all welded in. There's a lot of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and on all the windows. Not quite as many as I did on the inside hull windows, but it's going to be more than enough for these, and even just stick flex probably would have been enough, but I want some studs to retain them. Next step is, if I weld the studs in, I won't be able to like get around the back there. I can blast it, but I'm getting sick of cleaning up all the sand. So I'm going to get these sanding discs. You see how coarse that is. It's really coarse. It's 36 grit, and we're going to rip through these with that. So you can see there's some rust coming through. This paint was only a hold coat. It was only like 30 microns thick. So once I do a pass with all this, going to rip all that paint off, take all the corrosion off, and mechanically key it up with one of these instead of blasting. So it's going to be a bit quicker, a little bit less mess to clean up, and yeah, we'll just rip through all that and get the surface prepped to do a proper paint job. So let's get on to that last and final job. Alright, so I did get all the sanding done, because yeah, we won't be able to sand it all in these areas when we weld those studs in. It's far too windy at the moment to be welding those studs in. So when I go to like strike an arc, the wind's just going to blow all that flux away and ruin my weld. So while this is all done and ready to go, while it's still windy, I've got this section here that I have to repair. I've tried to cut that, see if I can force it back into position. There's too much stress. So this piece here that goes up to there, might cut that about here, just replace this whole piece because it's just too deformed and we're not going to get a nice roof structure, nice finish on it. Be way too much work fairing it all nice and smooth. So where all the other ones are nice curves, this is not. So we're going to cut this out while it's blowing a gale at the moment. So let's pull out the grinder. All right, it's a new day. I did get this welded up the other day and I ground down the welds, and that weld went all the way up there and across, and it's looking better. So it's more consistent now. I do want to put a bit of half round bar on here because this will be incredibly sharp if anyone hit their head on that 3mm bit of steel. So if we weld a round bar on there, it'd be a nice soft curve if anyone slipped and hit their head. So, and that will straighten the rest of it out. So next step is to get into all these holes here and put the studs in and weld them up. But the other day when I was here, it was blowing a gale. It was really hard to weld, obviously in bad windy weather, but there's not even a slightest breeze. I'm not sure if we could see the water, but very calm water. Nothing's rattling, none of the sails and all the other boats are rattling. There's a tarp over there, it's not moving. Perfect day for welding today. Just finished all that welding, so all these studs are in. Much cleaner sort of welds around there because the welds are on the outside out here, so it'll be a lot easier to paint these ones. But we cleaned up all the old rust and paint, so there'll just be minimal clean up on this before we have to paint. And then up here I've just cut this pipe in half and bent it with a little bit of a curvature so that once it's welded on, we've got like a nice round surface here, and it's good handhold if you like, nice and comfortable to put your arm on there. And then yeah, that half will weld onto this bit, and yeah, you can see that's got a bit of a curve to it to match the curvature of the roof. And that's the last bit of welding on the Dodger to do, and then yeah, just prep and paint after that bit. It's looking good. Alright, I'm pretty happy with the final result. So ground back all the welds, that one that went all the way along here. I've welded this on, full weld all the way along. It's a little bit of a dip there, but I could put a skim of fairing across that. But if we step back a bit, the curvature looks pretty uniform, and the rakes all go this way and all go that way. So I'm pretty happy with the rakes, and we've done a lot of paint prep. So we've gone back to bare metal all across the surfaces. I've got to sand a little bit in the corners, and I've done a little bit of sanding here, but I need a lot more mechanical preparation all down here, because mechanically prep all down the sides and the floor. And yeah, then I'm gonna have to paint it, but we might put that on hold for a little bit, because you may have noticed behind me I've welded in these giant posts on the back of the boat, and they are going to be for the dinghy davits. They're a little bit too tall at the moment. I've got to chop them down about there, I reckon, and then I've got to weld a solar arch on the top, and then we're going to have a pole go up the sides and come out, and then that pole will go down into the water and like pivot out, so it makes it nice and easy to get in and out of the dinghy davit into the dinghy. And when the dinghy is in the water, you can clip onto it, and it keeps the dinghy nice and stable while you're getting in and out. So next week I'm going to move on to doing the solar arch across the top, and then once that's done, that's all the hot works from this aft side back, besides the handrails, but I'm going to TIG them so it's not going to have a lot of weld splatter anywhere. And then what that's going to let me do is no more like arc welding or anything at the back of the boat here, which means we could paint this properly. We could get the proper undercoat. It's going to look nice and uniform and clean. No more like 70 micron hold coats, which is why we got a little bit of corrosion happening around. So we'll put a proper undercoat on, and the boat will look nice and clean, and we'll keep it that way. So next week we'll do the dinghy davits, and then finish the paint prep on this side. If we got time, we'll paint the whole lot. So that's next fortnight's episode for you. So that's all we got time for. One last look at the hard Dodger. Starting to look really nice. So I really like the angles I put on here. Makes it look good. So yeah, nice and protected. So yeah, let me know how you think I'm progressing. Leave a comment, and we'll see everyone in a fortnight. Thanks guys.